is we're learning everything about chametz and matzah, Chassidus, spiritual things, but this is one thing you have to take care of here on planet Earth, and that is you have to sell your chametz if you have chametz. So I'm going to give out these sheets, and there are little boxes there like this. This is the contract. Rabbi Ozdeba, Senior, which is the father of Rabbi Ozdeba, teaches that he sells the chametz, and you're basically selling it to him. So I'm going to pass around this pen. This pen belongs to Rabbi Ozdeba, and therefore when you lift it, that's one of the ways that we make an acquisition. You might have noticed it by something called a l'chaim. When you go like this, you're lifting it, and you're basically giving over your chametz to Rabbi Ozdeba. And then it doesn't matter, before or after you can do it, you write your name. So you have to write three things: your name, your address, you sign it. What?
You sign it, or you sign it?
You'll sign your name. But if it's an address that has, let's say, an apartment number, you'll put the apartment number. And also, normally you write where the chametz would be, in this closet, in this cabinet. But at this point, nobody knows where the chametz is going to be. So just write wherever indicated, which means later when you decide to put it here or there, and you put a piece of scotch tape there, that's the spot. So just write wherever indicated. And I think that's all. If anyone is not going to be here for Pesach, then it depends where you're going. If you're going to a place which is earlier than Crown Heights, Pesach starts earlier, then you can't sell it to the one here. You're going to a place where Pesach starts later, then you could. So I'm going to pass this around. And in the dorm, we usually, I think there's a closet that they mark off, and they won't put their stuff there. Want to put it in the oven so you can lock it up in your room. Okay. So this is pass around. This is the pen. I put a piece of scotch tape around here so it won't be confused with other pens. Okay.
On that side?
Either side. Yeah, either side. You want to make it colorful, you can skip a box and then it'll be more like design. Okay. So we spoke yesterday about Nissan, that Nissan is Mumayla Lamata, from above to below. And that's why we find that Nissan is connected to all these different things. This is the time for when the sun is shining. This is Avodah Tzadikim. This is the olive base going from up down. That's why we ask for dew, not for rain. And so, and that's when Hashem created the world in thought, not in speech. Is the Rosh Hashanah for miracles, not for nature. So let me also point out another few things. Number 11. Number 11 on the list says Rosh Hashanah l'Malachim. It's Rosh Hashanah for kings. I'd like to show it to you inside. There's a Mishnah that says there are 4 days a year that are considered Rosh Hashanah. So we all know Rosh Hashanah, the one that we consider the new year. We bless each other for the new year. We have special davening, we blow shofar. Then there's also another day which is more known, and that is Tu B'Shvat. That's considered the new year for the trees. But there's another day that's considered the beginning of the year, new year, and that is Rosh Chodesh Nissan. To see this inside, which is always good to see the source, is page 16 in the book. Look at page 16. I should say, please look at page 16. We don't have to, want to. Not obligated, we're not forcing anybody. This is the first Mishnah in the tractate called Rosh Hashanah. And it starts off saying, Arba Rosh Hashanah Haim, there are 4 New Years. And the first of the four is Be'echad B'Nisan, on the first day of Nisan, which is today, is the new year for kings and for festivals. What does that mean? Let me first explain kings. For kings means that in a contract, in any kind of official document, you write a date. You always need to write a date so it's clear when the transaction happened, when whatever it is happened. So there's a date. The date could be two things. One thing would be the day of the month. The other thing is they used to write, it's the 10th year of the king, the 13th year that this king is king. That was another way of identifying the date when it happened. But the problem is, it really won't be very clear because every king becomes a king at a different time of the year. Let's say they appointed this person king in Shvat. So that means the year begins in Shvat. Another king might be appointed in Nisan, so he becomes a king in Nisan. Every Nisan is a new year. And another king became a king in Chves and Sivan, so every Sivan is the new year. So it's going to be very difficult to know. And therefore the Chachamim designated one time, and that's considered the beginning for kings, which is Nisan. So if somebody became and was appointed as a king, let's say right before Purim, then today would be his second year of king. Why? Because it's Nisan, it's a new year. So Nisan marks the year for kings. And if somebody became a king, let's say this week, then until next year Nisan, it's still the first year of his kingdom. So it's Rosh Hashanah for kings. What does it mean it's Rosh Hashanah for festivals? It means that there are three festivals: Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. And the fact that the three festivals has, of course, have ramifications in halacha, but there's also ramifications about the fact that there are three festivals. By the way, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, even though they're in the Torah, it's not part of the three festivals. It's something different. What is the ramifications in halacha? There's a halacha that if you donate a korban to the Beis HaMikdash and you never end up bringing it, you have violated a commandment where it says, do not delay bringing your korban. What's delay? I made a commitment today, so if one day passes, is that considered delay? If a week passes, if a month passes, what's the halacha? The halacha is, if three festivals pass, because festivals was the time that you went to the Beis HaMikdash, if three festivals passed and you still didn't bring your korban, then you have violated that commandment. But there's another detail. It's only if three festivals passed in order. What's the order? The first festival is Pesach, the second is Shavuos, and the third is Sukkot. So it means if somebody made a commitment to bring a korban, let's say after Pesach, they have a very big time frame to make it up because Shavuos is still not the beginning yet, and Sukkot still didn't start yet. Next year, Pesach, we start counting three festivals because it has to be in order. Regarding, is it relevant today? The answer is yes, because it's relevant for tzedakah. This is something all fundraisers should know. That if somebody makes a commitment to give tzedakah, they also are not allowed to delay. It's like that's giving for the Beis HaMikdash a korban. This is giving tzedakah for also, it's like a holy purpose. But the same halacha applies. That if three festivals pass and I didn't fulfill my commitment for tzedakah, then it might be violating that commandment. So here there's something really fascinating, amazing and fascinating in the Shulchan Aruch. And that is, if you turn to page 18a, does anyone here know or heard before the term Adbash? Adbash? No? It's not Spanish, no? Children would know it if it was Spanish. So Adbash is something which belongs to the realm of Gematria, but it's one of those things which is actually found in Rashi and Chumash. And it's a little bit related to what we spoke about yesterday. Let me show that to you. We spoke yesterday about the fact that the Aleph Beis goes in two directions. Either it starts with the Aleph and goes all the way down, or you can say, well, there's another beginning. It starts with the Tav and goes back up. So it says in Rashi, in Chumash, and of course brought down in many other sources, that for that reason, if you have a word in the Torah which is written with an Aleph, it could be a hidden code that it's really alluding to Tav. Because Aleph and Tav could exchange. If you have a word that's written with the Tav, it could be a hidden code and Aleph, because they exchange. What about Beis? Also, Aleph is the first letter of the Aleph Beis, and Tav is the last. So Beis will change with Shin. Bash. Gimel will change with Reish. Daled will change with Kuf, and that's where the whole Aleph Beis goes. That the first from the top exchanges with the first from the bottom. Second with the second, third, the third. So here you see, it just shows the emes in Torah. You're looking at page 18a. This is a page in the Shulchan Aruch of Rabbi Yosef Cairo, and he writes that being that we're saying that Pesach is the Yom Tov, which is the king of all Yom Tovim, the beginning of all Yom Tovim. Look at this. Okay. The first day Pesach, whatever day in the week it will be the first day Pesach, Tisha B'Av will be the same day. So this year the first day Pesach is Thursday. This year Tisha B'Av will come out on Thursday. The second day Pesach is Friday. This year Shavuos will come out on Friday. All the holidays are here. The third day is going to be on Shabbos. This year Rosh Hashanah will be on Shabbos. The fourth day is going to be Sunday. Kuf stands for Kriyas HaTorah, the final reading of the Torah, which is Simchas Torah, is going to be on the same day. Then we have a Hey. What's the Hey? Hey is the fifth day, and Tzadik is Tzom, which means the fasting of Yom Kippur. We are the fifth day of Pesach. Then we have Vav. Vav. Here is the Pei. You give me a hard time. Okay, you did your time. Next. I wouldn't be so harsh, but also never. Okay. Vav Hey. No, Vav Pei. Sorry. Pei stands for Purim, and Vav is the sixth day of Yom Tov. The only thing that's interesting is Purim goes backwards, which means whatever day will be the sixth day of Pesach, that means that this past year that was the same day at Purim. The only Yom Tov that's not here, which I don't know the reason why, is Hanukkah. Otherwise, everything is here. And of course, the one strange thing is, why would the first day of Pesach, which is redemption, go together with Tisha B'Av, which is like the other end of the spectrum? And the answer is because the whole purpose of Golus, of this, is to become this. So really, the previous it's really one. But I think it's one of the most fascinating things. Here it says that Pesach is the beginning of all Yom Tovim, and then you see that Pesach actually determines each day, each Yom Tov, what day in the week is going to be. So that's what it means. It's the beginning of Yom Tovim. Number 12 is what we spoke about this morning, Chanukah's HaMishkan. So Rosh Chodesh Nissan today is also the day that they began the dedication of the Mishkan. And I remember that I think most of you were here this morning where we said it wasn't just the dedication of the Mishkan, this is really the beginning and the dedication of the Mishkan and all the future Mishkanos that were built, and the first Beis HaMikdash, and the second Beis HaMikdash, and the third Beis HaMikdash. This was laying down the foundation for all that. So in a sense, Rosh Chodesh Nissan is a beginning for a lot of things. So if you look at number 14, when Rashi and Chumash talks about Chodesh Nissan, let me see if I made a copy of it. Rashi says, that day, there are 10 special things that happen on that day. 10 special things. But Rashi doesn't say special things. Rashi says 10 crowns. Look at 19, page 19. It's Chumash, Pasha Shmini, because that was the 8th day. After 7 days of setting up the Mishkan and taking it apart, on the 8th day, it was set up permanently, and that was Rosh Chodesh Nissan. So look at Rashi. Vahi b'yem hashlishi. Rashi Shmini. Rashi says, what day was it? Rosh Chodesh Nissan. Shehukam hamishkan b'yom. The Natal Eser Ataras, that day took 10 crowns. So courtesy to the Mitzudas Chumash on the bottom, he actually writes what the 10 crowns are. In other words, it means 10 special things happen, but it's interesting to know that Rashi uses the term crowns. Aleph, Maisa Brachus, being that the first day was on a Sunday, and Sunday is the beginning of creation. That's one crown. 2, the Nisim, which means the princes, they brought a carbon. That's another crown. By the way, so the term crown has to do with royalty, with kingdom, with leadership. The Kahuna of the tribe of Levi and the family of Aaron was installed. In other words, when was the first time that Aaron and his family started to do the Avodah in the Beis Hamikdash? Was on Rosh Chodesh Nissan. What about the 7 days before? Anyone remember? Wasn't the 7 days before that they were practicing? So Rashi says, no, the 7 days before, Moshe Rabbeinu did everything, not Aaron. That's when Aaron started to do the work. So it's another thing. That's when Aaron began to do. Number 4, that's the beginning of the temple services. Number 5, the descent of the heavenly fire. We know that a fire descended from heaven and settled on the Mizbeach, and it was clearly not a natural fire. It was a fire from heaven, and it didn't get extinguished. In fact, even when they traveled, they had to cover it in a special way because the fire was still going. So that was another thing. Number 7, the presence of the Shekhinah to come down to this world was the first time in history. The blessing of Israel, on that day they gave the bracha, and the inauguration of the prohibition of local altars, the inauguration of the first of the months Nissan. So basically, what I'm pointing out to mainly is that not only is a day of special things, but it's 10 crowns. So everything around Chodesh Nissan revolves around leadership, royalty, crowns, beginnings, and so on. So this totally is consistent with number 16. B'Nissan nigalu, b'Nissan asidun ligol. In Nissan we were redeemed. That was the beginning of redemption. And when Mashiach will come, it will also be the beginning of redemption. So someone asked a question this morning, but don't you believe Mashiach can come every day? I gave 2 answers, but I forgot there's a third answer. The answer I gave in the morning was that no, he can come every day, but in Nissan, it's more conducive for it to happen. The second answer is, which is one opinion, that Mashiach will come any day of the year, any moment in any day. But when will even if he comes earlier, but the Geula, which means the change in the world, that'll happen in Nissan, like Moshe Rabbeinu. He came much before. He came to Paro and said, I am designated by Hashem as to be the Redeemer. He told the Yidden, I'm the Redeemer. But the Geula, which means actually leaving Mitzrayim, that happened a year and a half later. That'll be in Nissan. But there's also another thing, which, if I remember correctly, the Rebbe once said by Fabrengen, that no matter when Mashiach comes, we know that in the era of Mashiach, there will constantly be new stages and new eras, and will constantly be progressing in terms of the miracles and the changes in the world. So whenever Mashiach comes, Nissan will be a beginning of a new era in that time itself, like something major will happen. To give an example, let's say Mashiach, well, it's over. We're ready in Nissan. Let's say Mashiach came last month. Then let's say in this month, something new will happen. Maybe the dead will rise in the month of Nissan, which, by the way, that is the time for Tchias HaMesa. That's why in the Torah reading on Pesach, we read about Tchias HaMesa for that reason. Okay, and I just want to point out that also the month of Nissan is connected to a lot of our Rabbeim. 18. Beis Nissan, which is tonight, the second day of Nissan, that's the day that the Rebbe Rashab was nostalgic. The Rebbe points out if he was nostalgic on that day, that means the Frierdiker Rebbe's leadership also began on Beis Nissan. So it's connected to two Rebbes, the Rebbe Rashab and the Frierdiker Rebbe. Yud Gimel Nissan, the 13th of Nissan, was the day that Tzemach Tzedek was nostalgic. If that's the case, that means that on the 13th of Nissan was the day the Rebbe Marash became Rebbe. So you have two Rebbes again, so you have four Rebbes that it's connected to. And then, of course, we have Yud Aleph Nissan, which is our Rebbe's birthday. Then we have Chai Nissan, which is the birthday of the Rebbe's father, which is the beginning of our Rebbe's it's the birthday before our Rebbe's birthday. I also put down Yud Aleph Nissan for another reason, because another great person and a great leader was born on Yud Aleph Nissan. Anyone know his name? Rambam, very good. And another great leader that passed away on Yud Gimel Nissan the same day as Tzemach Tzedek, and that is Rabbi Yosef Karo, the author of the Shulchan Aruch. So Nissan is really, it's perfect time. Hashem, please do not delay. Okay, so I think we covered what we wanted to cover mainly about Nissan, and now we'll go into the next subject, which is page 21. That's strange. Okay. Page 21 in the
Sorry. On Yud Daled Nissan, it was the Rambam and somebody else, right? Or you said just
the Rambam.
Oh, okay.
On Yud Gimel Nissan is the day of passing the Tzemach Tzedek,
Right.
and Rabbi Yosef Karo, the author of the Shulchan Aruch. So let's start page 21. Let's turn the page. And this is the page of the Siddur. When we daven, we know the davening for the Yom Tov is the same for Pesach, for Shavuos, and for Sukkot. The only difference is there's a certain part of davening where we change the words depending on what holiday it is. So when it comes to Pesach, we say Chag HaMatzos. On the other hand, we call it Pesach. So obviously there are two names. One is Pesach, one is Chag HaMatzos. Where does the name Pesach come from? So you turn the page, it's in the Chumash. In the Chumash it says, Pasuk 27, where the Yidden are told to bring a carbon, and the carbon is called carbon Pesach. And you shall say, if your children will ask you, what is this all about? You'll answer, it is Pesach offering to Hashem. And why is it a Pesach offering? He passed over the houses of the Bnei Yisrael in Egypt. So this is referring to the last of the 10 plagues, and that was Makas Bechoros. Hashem eliminated all the Bechorim. However, he jumped over the homes of the Yidden. Even though they also had firstborn, nothing happened to them. So the question is, we know already from before, and from many classes, that the name of something is the essence. It expresses the essence. And especially because in Chassidus it explains that Hashem creates everything with the name. So it has to be the essence, because that's what created it. So this is, if a table is called Shulchan, it means the word Shulchan is the source of the table. So obviously it's, the essence of it is expressed in that name. And the same is the name of people, the name of objects, the name of a parsha, and the same with the name of a yontif. Why would Pesach be expressing the name and the essence of the yontif? The reason for the two names, if some of you studied the Rebbe's Agada, you might have come across it, that it says Hashem calls the yontif by a name where he's so proud of the Yidden. And we are talking about the greatness of Hashem. It's like a father and a son, they're both great people. So the father takes pride in the son, and the son takes pride in the father. So basically, we say, Hashem, this is the day that you jumped over and you saved all the Jewish firstborn. And Hashem says, this is the day that the Jewish people ran out of Mitzrayim, that the dough didn't even have enough time to rise. But the name Chag HaMatzos, we can understand their connection. Chag HaMatzos means that the redemption was so fast that there was no time for the dough to rise. Okay, so the matzah is connected to the whole process of redemption, leaving Egypt. But Pesach is one detail in one of the 10 makkahs. So why should the whole Yom Tov be called Pesach? Could you imagine calling the Yom Tov Tzvardeya? I'm going to my in-laws for the frogs. What? Oh, it's Pesach. Why did you say frog? Because one of the plagues was a frog. It was one of the plagues. And the other things were also one of the plagues, but that's not the name of the whole Yom Tov. The whole Yom Tov, what defines the Yom Tov is redemption. So why should the whole Yom Tov be called Pesach? So the answer to this, it's explained in Chassidus, and really not only in Chassidus, but you'll also see it in the Medrash. Look at page 24. It's the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, and it says these words which are underlined. Pearl Doidi, I hear the voice of my beloved. Hine Zeba, he's coming. And Medaleg Alahorim, he's jumping over the mountains. Mekapetz Alagvois, he's skipping over the hills. And this pasuk is alluding to Pesach. So in here we see that it's not just about the 10th plague. There's something about Pesach that we describe Pesach as if Hashem is jumping over the mountains and skipping over the hills. What does that mean? So here's one of the ways of understanding it. If you turn the next page, this is a Medrash. I want to read the Medrash inside. Page 25. It's called Medrash Rav Kana. And we'll start where it's underlined. Pearl Doidi, Hine Zeba, Medaleg Alahorim, we just read it, he jumps over the mountains and skips over the hills. So there are three rabbis, three sages that explain this pasuk: Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemiah, and Rabbanan. Rabbi Yehuda said, Pearl Doidi Hine Zeba, who are we talking about? Whose voice? Moshe, Zeh Moshe. And he goes on to explain, Bishar Shemoshe, when Moshe came, and he told the Bnei Yisrael, this month, that's it, you're going out of Golus. Amrullah, the Yidden said to Moshe, Rabbeinu Moshe, our dear Rabbi Moshe, hey, Chanan the Golem, how could you tell us we're going out of Golus? That's not what Hashem said to Avram. What did Hashem say to Avram? They'll be slaves, and they'll be persecuted for 400 years. We've only been suffering for 210 years. We have to suffer for another 190 years. Imagine. So Moshe, please, don't confuse us. Amulahem, so Moshe said, being that Hashem desires your redemption, Hashem will not look at all this accounting, so many years. He'll jump over the mountains, skip over the hills, which means he'll jump over all these designated dates, jump over all accounting and all sorts of countings that when the Gula has to come, and you're going out. So now we understand it a little bit deeper. It's not just jumping over the firstborn. It means that Hashem jumped over sort of the system. Really, there was a reason why they had to be there for 400 years. It was meant to be. They had to go through a process of 400 years. But Hashem has such a strong desire for us to be out of Golus that he's overlooking that, and he took us out of Golus prematurely. That's one opinion. Rabbi Nechemiah says something similar but different. Who was it referring to? Moshe. When he's going to come, when he came and told the Yidden. Why the music? Oh, because it's set like every day. Okay. You heard me say we're going out of this. Baruch Hashem. Hey, Chanan and Golem, how could we go out of Golus? Eretz Mitzrayim, Malaya, Mitinefes, Avedazara Shalanu. The land of Egypt is filled with our garbage our Avodah Zarah. Remember, we spoke about the fact that the Yidden in Mitzrayim also worshipped idols. So basically, we don't deserve to go out of Golus. Another strange thing. Moshe is telling them, everybody get ready, we're going out of Golus. And Moshe, no, we don't deserve to go out of Golus. Egypt is full of our Avodah Zarahs. How could we deserve to go out of Golus? So Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, being that Hashem loves you and He desires your redemption, he's not going to look at your Avodah Zarah, He's going to overlook it. Medaleg ala harim, He's going to jump over the mountains. Mekapetz ala gvois, He's going to skip over the hills. And what is that referring to? That's alluding to Avodah Zarah. Ein harim ala bati Avodah Zarah. Whenever it says in the Torah harim, and not whenever, but many times, it's actually alluding to idols, because that's where they used to put their idols, on top of mountains, on top of hills. And like it brings a pasuk, it says al reish harim, on the top of the mountains, yizbuchu, that's where they brought their sacrifices to idols. Valagvois, and on top of the hills, yikteru, that's where they brought their incense. So basically, again, the same thing. The idea is the same, except the first one was that the reason why we don't deserve to go out because we didn't have the amount of years that we need. The second one is that we don't deserve to go out. We're full of sin. And on both, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem jumps over it. Jumps over means He's going to overlook it. He will transcend. It's true, there is a certain rule that you have to be deserving to go out of Golus, but Hashem will overlook it and take us out anyway. Now comes the third one. Rabbanan Amru, Moshe. This is Moshe. And what did this one say? When he told the Yidden, you're going out of Golus, they said, Rabbeinu Moshe. Hey, Chodesh, how could you tell us we're going out of Golus? We don't have good deeds that we should merit, and the merit of the good deeds to go out of Golus. Why don't they have good deeds? Because they didn't do mitzvahs yet. There was no Torah yet. There was no mitzvahs yet. So generally speaking, they didn't have good deeds. The first one was that we have bad deeds, Avodah Zarah. The third group says we don't have any good deeds, that in that merit we should be able to go out. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu answer them? Same words. Being that Hashem desires your redemption, He won't pay any attention to your bad deeds or good deeds. What will He look at? He'll look at your tzaddikim. For example, Amram Beis Dinai and his colleagues. And Har Megvois, when it means jumps over the mountain and skips over the hills, it's alluding to the Bezdin, the court of rabbis and sages, that Hashem looks at them, and basically He won't care about anything else. Then comes along the Gemara and says another thing. Rabbi Yudan, this is about us. Rabbi Yudan, B'Shem Rabbi Lezer, B'neish Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yudan said this in the name of Rabbi Lezer, the son of Rabbi Yosi, Haglili. Rabbi Huna said it in the name of Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, and he said the following. Kerl Deidi Hine Zeba, whose voice are we talking about? Melech HaMashiach. And the same thing is going to happen with Mashiach. The Shoshu Ba V'Emul Yisrael is going to come to the Yidden, and he's going to say, "B'Chodesh Hazeh Atam Negolim." This month you're going out of Golus. They're going to say to him, "Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach, our Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, Heichon Negolim." How could you say we're going out of Golus? Lo Yikach Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not what Hashem told us. We didn't have enough. Hashem told us we're going to be in Shibud. We're going to be subjugated to 70 nations. We didn't go through all 70 nations yet. What?
I think we did.
You think we did? Well, apparently these guys don't think so. And we went through a lot of nations, but not all 70.
What do you mean we went through all that? What do you mean went through?
Jews were in Golus in Babylon. They were in Golus in Persia. They were in but not by all 70 nations.
That part of the prediction that we need to be.
That's what they're going to argue, and they say we have to be in all 70 nations. It's just shocking that Moshe is telling them we're going out of Golus, and the Yidden are telling Moshe, no, we don't deserve it for one reason or another. So therefore, when it happens with Mashiach, we're not so shocked. We see it as a precedent to that. That's what happened in Mitzrayim. Anyway, so he said, that didn't Hashem say that? So his answer is like this: Echad mikem goyle lebarbaria. One of you, only one of you, is going to go to this faraway place called Barbaria. Echad mikem leSarmache. Another one is going to go to another place called Sarmache. And being that all Yidden are connected, so if one Yid is in one of these places, it's as if everybody is everywhere. So therefore, there's Jews in Nicaragua, there's Jews in Honolulu, there's Jews in every end of the world, and especially with our shluchim. So therefore, there's a Yid all over the place, and one person represents the whole nation. That's one answer. There's another answer. Hamachos Arasha Azais, there's going to be these evil kingdoms and governments. Machtiva Tirunin Mikol Umma V'Umma. They're going to come out with decrees against the Jews. But when they came out with these decrees, they're going to have the backing of all the nations. So even though it might be one nation that's trying to persecute us and put out decrees against us, but they're going to have the support of all the nations. So it's as if all 70 nations are persecuting us. He didn't use the word United Nations, but that's exactly what it is. They're coming out with a decree and everybody's behind them, so it's as if it's all the nations. So based on this, we understand a much deeper meaning to the word jumping. That means we don't really deserve, and especially based on what we learned before in the Maimer, a little easy to understand, when Hashem shines his light in the world and does something which is revealed godliness, we have to be a vessel for it. So in Atzilus, godliness is revealed more. In Bria, godliness is revealed less. In Yitzira, godliness is even less. In Asiya is the least. Now, in this world, when we're doing things that are more worthy, then we're also a vessel for more godliness. But what if we're doing the opposite? What happened in Mitzrayim was the Yidden were in the 49th gate of impurity. And the question is, how is it possible that Hashem should be revealed to them? They didn't go through the process that should make them a vessel for Hashem being revealed. If somebody wants to become a doctor, say Begashmis, he wants to become a doctor, there's a whole process. You go to school, go to medical school, and you're learning everything about medicine. I'm not sure how many years that takes, but let's assume it takes 5 years, 7 years. Then that's not enough. Then you have to be an intern. So you work with another doctor, you work in the hospital another few years. And then, after all that, you get smicha and you can become a doctor. What if somebody comes to the university and they say, what's your name? Okay, we're giving you can become a doctor. You can start. How can I become a doctor? I didn't study anything. I don't have any experience. If it would be true that this person would suddenly have all the capabilities of a doctor, that would be called jumping. They jump from here to there, a process which normally takes X amount of years, and they jumped that whole process, and one day they got there. Just like Kvitzas Haderech, you heard the term from Chumash, the jumping of the road, which means Eliezer, for example, traveled a journey that takes 3 days, but he got there in 1 day. He jumped. Today, jumping is what we have today, which is natural, and getting on an airplane, that would be jumping. Years ago, to go from here to Eretz Yisrael would take 10, 11 months or a year. And today, you do it in 10, 11 hours, and you eat breakfast there, and you can eat supper there. So we're jumping. Today, if you have a document in America, and you want someone to sign the document in Australia, you just press a button and the document appears there. And you got the signature and press it back. What is it? We're in a jumping world right now compared to the processes that were necessary years ago. So there's a process that's necessary to go out of Gullus. For example, we're in Gullus almost 2,000 years. Why? Because we have to go through a process of cleansing, of refinement. That's why we're 2,000 years in Gullus. They had to go through other processes, and that was 400 years. So the fact that it didn't have to be 400 years, or they could have been doing idol worship or other things, and merit to go out of Golus means Hashem jumped over the process. So basically, if we translate this in the language of Chassidus, it means that the light that was shining when they went out of Mitzrayim was the light that's above Hishtalshalus. Remember, Seder Hishtalshalus means there's an order. First this, and then that, and then from this there could be another thing. So each world has to be there to lead into the stepping stone to the next world. In each world itself, there's 10 spheres. In each sphere, there's 10 spheres, and there are levels that one leads to the next. The fact that in those days, Hashem was in Keser, which is all the way above Atzilus, should shine without any processing, straight into this Gashmistic world, and we go out of Mitzrayim, that's called jumping. Hashem jumped over all those levels and took us out of Egypt. So this is usually when the Chassidus talks about this subject, they always, most of the time, refer to this part of the Haggadah on page 27. It says, Matzazu Shana Eichlin. There's one part of the Haggadah which says you must say three things. Matzah, Pesach, Matzah, and Murr. And whenever you say the three things, you also say what it's all about. When it comes to matzah, it says, why do we eat matzah? Because the dough of our forefathers didn't have time to become leavened. Because the King of Kings, which is Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He, revealed Himself to them and redeemed them, and there was no time for the chametz, for the bread to become chametz. So this explains, it means that Hashem revealed Himself and sort of suddenly, He revealed Himself suddenly, and to the extent that there was no time that they had to go to Mitzrayim in a second, in an instant. And it says that when the time came, Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, He didn't even delay it to the blink of an eye. It means it happened in a second. But on a deeper level, it means that Hashem revealed Himself, and that's why there was no chametz. Chametz represents evil and tumah and impurity. Once Hashem is revealed like that, the evil and the purity was gone without us doing anything. Yes, later we have the 7 weeks of Shvira, we start working on things, but the going out of Mitzrayim was a leap, a jump from a very high level to a low level. This explains another thing, why one of the character traits that the Torah teaches us is the character trait of zerizus. Zerizus means not to procrastinate, not to push things off, to do things faster. And one of the places where this is emphasized is in Pesach. First of all, you were in the matzah bakery yesterday. If you were, you saw that over there, everything has to be done very fast. And why? Because from the moment that the flour touches the water, things have to happen within 18 minutes until it's baked. And if it doesn't happen in 18 minutes, it's not kosher. It becomes chametz. So everybody's rushing. The guys who are making the holes are rushing. The guys who are kneading are rushing. And the guys who are carrying it are rushing. Everybody's rushing. It's also connected to what it says in Chumash. Look at page 28. It says how you're supposed to be eating the Korban Pesach. When you eat the Korban Pesach, masnechem chagurim, your waist should have the belt on it. Your shoes should be on your feet. Your staff, your walking staff, should be in your hands. And you should eat it in haste, because it's a Pesach offering for Hashem. In other words, we went out of Mitzrayim in haste, and therefore we should also be eating it like that, ready to run. So the fact that Pesach is related to zerizus, doing things fast, and not procrastinating, and not delaying, and getting there, is representing the idea that Hashem jumped over all the different sort of requirements that would be in Seder Hishtalshlus and reveal to us a light that's from Ein Sof. And the same thing is what we have at the end. Look at the next page 30. Vahi mikei shloshim shana. Barbo Meir Shana. It was at the end of 430 years for another calculation. And then it says, it was on the essence of that day. What does the essence of that day mean? So Rashi says, this tells us that the moment the bondage ended, God did not detain them for even the blink of an eye, but immediately took us out. And then you have the other midrashim that say, had we been in Egypt one more moment, even the blink of an eye, we would have sunk into the 50th gate of impurity, and that gate is so impure, it would be beyond return. So that means that in a split second, we went from the lowest of the lowest to the highest of the highest. And that means Hashem jumped, that He revealed to us something which only gets revealed to people that are above Atzilus, came revealed to those that are all the way on the bottom, as if to say the light of Atzilus jumped over, light of Keser jumped over Atzilus and Bria and Yetzirah and Asiyah and came down to us where we were in the dungeon. Okay. There's another thing where we see the need of zrizos when it comes to matzah. Let me see if I made a copy of it. I guess I didn't. There's the matzah is called matzah shmura. Why is it called shmura? It has to be watched. So it says in Chumash, they have these words in Chumash, maybe I do have it in it. No. It says, Shmartem es matzahs. You should watch them. So Rashi says, what does it mean to watch them? That they shouldn't become chametz. So how do you watch them? They shouldn't get wet. The dough shouldn't get wet. So the Gemara says that, I forgot who it was that said this statement, that if you look at the word matzahs, they could also be read as mitzvahs. It's the same spelling, mem tzadik vav sof. You should watch the mitzvahs. Don't let them become sour. Literally means watch the matzahs, don't let them become sour. Here's a watch the mitzvahs, don't let them become sour. Mitzvah habali yotcha, if a mitzvah comes to your hand, al tach mitzana, don't let it become sour, which means if you don't do that, now you might not have the opportunity to do that mitzvah again. So do not delay, do not procrastinate, but if a mitzvah comes your way, just go ahead and do it. Which is basically the idea of zerizus. By the way, when we learn Pirkei Avos, it always comes up, zerizus doesn't mean that I do the mitzvah fast. That would mean like to daven and do speed through the siddur. That's not that. I'm learning something, go as fast as I can. Zerizus means that I'm going to do the mitzvah fast. Which means if I wake up in the morning, instead of saying, I'll get there soon, and let me take care of one thing, let me take care of another thing, let me just make one phone call, I just want to go buy something, and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I think I better start davening, okay. But that should be the first thing in the morning, so I should get there fast. But the actual mitzvah, how do I do it? You have to do it thoroughly, slowly, in depth, and concentrate, and so on and so forth. There was once a teacher who wanted to give a message to his student how his davening is not appropriate. So he took little pieces of wood that were shaped like a piece of paper and drilled a hole in it, connected with string, made about 10 of such pieces of paper, and smeared honey on it, on each one. And then apparently they had a very friendly bear in the area, and they gave the bear the honey. So the bear took the honey and started taking it. It was going like this. It said that's what your davening looks like. There's no words, it's and you turn the pages. But that's not what it's supposed to be. Okay, we'll stop here.
Thank you.
So today was Pesach, and tomorrow we'll talk about matzah and chametz and so on.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious? Yeah.